Here's a recording of the LYFT CEO explaining how he feels about surge pricing.
Prime time, also called surge pricing by Uber, is where you basically don't have enough driver supply, and so you have to price it high to incent more drivers out there. That's a bad form of price raising. It's a particularly bad form because riders hate it with a fiery passion. And so we're trying to, really get rid of it.
The news outlets took his words and ran as fast as they could, publishing articles with headlines like "Lyft is killing surge pricing to siphon off Uber customers," or "Lyft's end to surge pricing means drivers will earn less and Lyft doesn't mind," and my personal favorite, "Lyft plans to ditch surge pricing, which riders hate with a fiery passion." The media coverage was so negative that Lyft had to issue a correction, clarifying that the company was not directly phasing out surge pricing. Instead, Lyft is focusing on growing their driver base, which will naturally reduce surge pricing. In this video, we'll be covering the different opinions that passengers and riders have about surge pricing. I'll also share what I found when I started digging into the rumor that Lyft plans to eliminate surge pricing by the end of 2023. Finally, I'll share my personal feelings and experiences about surge pricing in my market, and I'll give you some tools and tricks for how you can keep your income up even though surges are going down. We can classify everyone into 4 categories. A passenger who disagrees with Lyft's plan to lower surge pricing said that surge pricing helps to distribute demand more evenly. When prices are high, people are less likely to take a ride, which means that there are more drivers available for those who do need the ride. But a rider who agrees with Lyft's plan to cut surges believes that it's like being charged more for a movie ticket because there are a lot of people at the theater. I think that's a valid analogy considering how Lyft and Uber handed out surges to passengers who were trying to escape from a Brooklyn subway attack.
Meanwhile, just after the shooting, outrage aimed at both Uber and Lyft, with the questions coming, did they attempt to profit from the mass shooting?
That's something that could have been avoided if pricing was more consistent for passengers, which is the main reason Lyft is setting this plan in action. And while that point might be valid, so is this stance from a driver who disagrees with Lyft's plan, saying that surge pricing isn't fair for drivers. We're the ones who are taking on the risk of driving in bad weather or during rush hour. We deserve to be compensated for that, especially if you consider that at least once a month, a rideshare driver makes the news about being robbed or even being murdered.
October 18th, Tuesday, 11 a.m. Davron picked up 2 riders and says immediately something felt off.
Police say crew pulled out a gun and pressed it to the back of Spikuza's head as she pleaded with him.
Come on, man, I got a family. What are you doing?
For the drivers who agree that Lyft needs to do away with surges, I think that you're the weird ones, even if some of your reasoning makes sense. One driver said that it's not fair for us to have charged our customers more when we're not making any more money, which is completely fair. There's been times where surges have existed and passengers are paying the surges, but the drivers aren't actually getting a cut. Another said surge pricing can be bad for the Lyft brand. It gives the impression that Lyft is a luxury service, which can turn off some riders. And that perspective might sound a little out of touch, but I think it fairly accurately describes Lyft's justification for the plan, and the plan is that Lyft wants to lower prices for customers in order to steal customers away from Uber. And it looks like they're willing to do it at the driver's expense by looking like the budget-friendly option compared to Uber. When I was doing my research for this video, something just didn't sit right with me, and I think I might have uncovered a Lyft conspiracy. Here's the backstory. I use AI to help gather my news sources when I make videos. AI showed me an article by TechCrunch entitled "Lyft to Eliminate Surge Pricing by the End of 2023." That was soon deleted because Lyft issued a correction to the story saying that Lyft would be phasing out surge pricing over time and that it may not be eliminated until 2025. This is specific, but no matter what I did, I couldn't find the article. I even used the Wayback Machine that takes snapshots of the internet to save it for all of history. For example, here's a Wayback Machine snapshot of what Lyft looked like throughout the years. After using this tool, I still couldn't find it, but it's still possible for it to have been made and deleted before the Wayback Machine took a snapshot. So I decided to reach out to TechCrunch on Twitter to ask if the AI was right, and they didn't even respond to my comment. Days later, I tried to get AI to replicate what it said before, but all it would spit back out to me was that it couldn't find the article, and it gave me a recommendation for another article that was posted later on the same day. So what do you think? Do you think TechCrunch had a rumor that Lyft is trying to end surge pricing by 2023, but Lyft doesn't want their drivers to think that that's the case, or maybe they've changed their plans? Let me know in the comments if you think this is what's going on. Here are my thoughts on the state of surge pricing. Over the last year, I've seen the surge pricing cap go from a possible $50 surge to a maximum of $15 surge. Now, if you've seen more than $15 recently this year, let me know in the comments too. But not long after I posted a video about how I was able to double my income from $30 an hour to $50 to $60 an hour under certain conditions, it became a lot harder to meet those conditions. This means that both surges and streak bonuses have been significantly decreased even in my market. And even though I think that's because Lyft has done a good job for them, but a bad job for drivers saturating the market, I also think that Lyft is still actively going to make a change to the app that's going to decrease driver pay even more. This makes sense when you consider that Lyft has been offering bigger ride challenges instead of bonus zones and streaks. So I came up with 3 strategies to help me make more money even though Lyft is working towards eliminating bonuses. Ever since Lyft updated the schedule rides page, it's made it easier for me to predict where bonus zones will appear even though they're disappearing. I know bonus zones aren't what they used to be, but it's still the best way to maximize what's left of Lyft. When looking at the scheduled rides, hit the date filter to only show the next day and you'll be able to see a cluster of rides. If those clusters are happening around the same time, and if it's early in the morning, it's likely a bonus zone will appear around that area. This works really well if there are airports around. Early morning flights are a common thing, and it's also common that drivers are typically not awake at this early hour. But if you're watching this channel, I have higher expectations for you, and you should be doing this if you want to make more money. This trick works best the night before the next day, since most people won't put scheduled rides in the app until after they go to bed. Not after they go to bed, until before they go to bed. Sorry. The next tip that I have is to become a platinum driver. As a platinum Lyft driver, it increases your chances of getting a streak bonus and ride challenges. Think about it. Which drivers do you think Lyft will throw money at? It's going to be the drivers that are highlighted as the gold standard, or in this case, the platinum standard. I already have Lyft support telling me that bonuses are dependent on your performance. They've even introduced a new feature that guarantees ride streak challenge protections up front. It might feel dirty to you, but if I were the CEO of Lyft, I'd want to make sure I insulate the great drivers with an incentive to stay on the platform as it gets more congested. If you don't think being a platinum driver is worth it, and you think that your market is the problem, here's an app that will tell you how much other drivers are making in your market to prove you either wrong or right. I'll have it linked below. But prioritizing the best drivers in the market, which are usually full-time drivers, has the best output for Lyft and the customer base. That's who I make my videos for. I make it for rideshare drivers who are trying to take advantage of the financial opportunity that rideshare can provide. It's still a grind sometimes, and I wanted to make it as easy on you guys as possible. I don't think rideshare is going to be any more worth it tomorrow than it was yesterday. And it will only get harder and harder to make money. We see people complain all the time about how much money they used to make, and every year the amount of money that we make per hour, it seems to dwindle. That's why I want you guys to make the most money possible now, so that you can use it as a stepping stone to bigger and better things. If you want to follow my journey on how I plan to use rideshare as a stepping stone into financial peace, make sure you subscribe and check out this final tip on how I doubled my income. It's the best tool for when it's busy, even in the face of disappearing surges.